Hello and welcome to the Silver Lining, the weekly geekly talk show where we discuss any number of topics that may have come up during the week, no matter how slow the week has been. And it has been a slow week. I'm your host, Uncle Silver, aka Silver Greg, aka Greg, whatever you're comfortable calling me. And welcome to you, my co-host, the chat. Always a fantastic time having everyone here to discuss our latest goings on. That one big goings on in particular that is driving everybody crazy, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it together. Dragoon Marcos, what's going on? I apologize for the late start today. I was here, I was ready, and then I was like, I had no topics. So I was contemplating whether or not I was just gonna do gameplay. I know that there's a couple new games out for the Switch, Nintendo Switch Online service. So I was probably going to play through some of those or something. And there's nothing going on that I really, really wanted to talk about. Like, right, there's some online beef going on, which there always seems to be. And there's always, this streamer did this or these YouTubers are arguing about that. And there was a lot of that stuff going on. And I hate talking about that stuff. So I don't want to talk about that stuff. So then I was just going through online and I'm like, okay, is there anything really worth discussing, like anything in the news worth discussing? I could, one of the things I like to do is I like to discuss things that are a little bit more topical. Every once in a while I throw in a fun topic where we go over theoretical ideas. I think, what was it, a couple weeks ago we talked about like what is an expensive gaming item that you would buy if money wasn't an object, or I like doing stuff like that, but I like to tie those in along with or I like to pair those up with real stories. If I'm gonna do any of those the hypothetical, just sort of fun discussions is what I call them, I like to have other news stories, and there wasn't really any news stories. The only thing I could think about that I do want to talk about is Pac-Man. Pac-Man is turning 40, which is like, just our memories of Pac-Man and what our interactions have been with Pac-Man. But hopefully everybody's doing okay. Hopefully your week has been all right. My week has been okay. Very stagnant sort of week. I don't know, it just sort of blasted by. I did finally watch Sheera. I watched the final season of Sheera, and holy smokes, that is a fantastic show, and I would absolutely recommend that you sit down and you watch it. Okay, so it is 5 seasons long, but they are 13 episode seasons, except for seasons 2 and 3, which are 6 episodes and 7 episodes, which is obviously 13. But they even feel like one season that was split into 2. They called it season 2 and season 3, but really it's season 2 split in half. It's like season 2 and then season 2.5. So ultimately you're talking about 4 seasons of 42 of 13 episodes, so that's 42 episodes total. Of like a 23 minute show. They're the shorter shows. So I would absolutely recommend that you sit down and you watch that show, because that is a fantastic reimagining of that universe, of that Sheera universe. I can't really say the He-Man universe, because it's not He-Man. It is separate from He-Man. But it is a fantastic iteration of that universe, and the show wraps itself up very, very well. It is a terrific show. Definitely give that show a try. But hello, Dragoon, Marcos, Latimer, UAC, Ebil, Corp, Ebil, is it Ebil or Ebel? I probably just say Corp. I get a little confused. Corp, 2010. I get a little confused because we have another person that comes here. Is he here now? Emil, Memil. So whenever I see your name and his name, I get them. I say his. I apologize. I don't know who, like, what the proper pronoun is. But it's just a force of habit. But yeah, I always get them mixed up. But quite a little Capricorn. Humans on what? Okay. Humans on Iku? Is that what it is? Is it humans on Iku, or is it the human son Niku, or son Iku, or is it the human so Niku. Like I don't know where the divisions are in that name. But AGM, what's going on? Streaming on Pac-Man's birthday, I see. Absolutely. Kind of it was a really quiet week in gaming news. The recent thing Sonic seems saying they're focused on taking time making games, despite Forces taking 5 years. My mom could play a mean Miss Pac-Man. The game itself took like 1 year, like the other games prior. Let's see here. Sonic Forces confuses me because somehow between Generations and Forces they forgot how classic Sonic was supposed to play. The human Soniku. Okay, there we go. That's how you say Sonic. Oh, okay, Soniku. Okay. See, there we go. Listen. You gotta put some capital letters in there. You're killing me here. Human. It's almost as if when you made your screen name, you didn't stop to consider my feelings, and that hurts me. The other years include the creation of the Hedgehog and just to bring the news, I'm up for a job at the news. Got some articles done this week. What do you mean the news? My feelings. Hey Arwing Potato, what's going on? But hello everybody. Hopefully you had a relatively decent week. How did you get through the week? It's sad, but one of the things that I question is how did everybody else get through the week, right? Because that feels like what I'm trying to do now. Sometimes is, and not to be a bummer, but sometimes that's what it feels like. Sometimes I'm kind of like, just gotta figure out how to get through each day, man. I say evil. Okay, so evil. Aha, so you're evil core 2010. All right, I got you. I told you during the ASMR. Oh yeah, I got to drop as a cameraman. That's right. I apologize. John Pancho, what's happening? Hopefully everybody is doing okay. Right, what's going on? How did I get through the week? Animal Crossing as usual. Let me ask you, Hero. I saw somebody post this on Twitter, and it was interesting for me to see that, and I was kind of curious about how everybody else thought. Is anybody else winding down from Animal Crossing? I am not. Well, I kind of am. I'm at a point where I'm not doing my daily, like I'm doing my daily chores, but I'm not doing a lot of extra stuff. You know what I mean? Like I do my daily chores and then I would walk around and see what to fix and what to build up. And I'm not really doing that much anymore. I'm starting to get back into rearranging my flowers. That's the thing. Because my flowers are like way out of control. So I'm starting to create some flower sort of arranged environments with them. And then so I can leave them, because the flowers, if you don't care for them and you don't sequester them properly, they're all over the place. They just go everywhere. You're fine. I need to learn how to drive, otherwise I won't be able to get contract. Oh yeah, you gotta learn how to drive, man. It's I didn't get my license until very late. I think I was 31 when I got my license. It's probably about right. I'll be honest, I hate it because traffic to me is the biggest source of anxiety. And of course I hate caring for my car because it's expensive. And every time I take it to get an oil change or something, all I think of is how much is this going to cost me? But the freedom that you get from being able to drive, it really is kind of remarkable. Let me see here. I had a pretty good week, although on Wednesday I felt like crap. I fell asleep at 5:36 p.m. Woke up at 9 a.m. Felt way better. Yeah, I think Dragoon, because we're not doing a lot of us aren't doing a whole lot of stuff. We think that, oh, well, I have excess energy, and we really don't. So then we get these days where we're just completely burned out, and it's like, no, we're just tired. But if we were doing stuff, we would realize that we're tired. Human Malware PSA I edited was shown during my school's virtual graduation. It was super well received. Congratulations. Very, very awesome. The name comes from when I got into the Sonic fan game HQ. Super burned out of Animal Crossing now. I sort of see where people are winding down from it. I'm not winding down, but I'm not playing what I would normally play in Animal Crossing. Yeah, absolutely. Elements, what's going on? I got it 3 years ago, but for a reason I haven't been able to. I haven't been able to drive since 2 years. Oh, okay. Car problems are a third of why I still haven't had money to finish building my PC. Yeah, it always kind of gets like that, man. Cars are irritating. Driving is a great skill to have. Yeah, it really is. Whether you're not, and that's one thing. I didn't get my license until later because I didn't really have a lot early on. Like when I turned 16, I didn't really have access to a car. Like I had my father's car, but he was like, my father was like very strict with the car, so it was almost like an act of rebellion for me. Like, okay, well, if that's how you're gonna be, then I'm not gonna bother. But then, like, I also had like mass transit. I had a bunch of mass transit near me, so it was very easy. And I like mass transit. I like taking the bus and the trains everywhere because I can relax. You know, you get in, you wake up, you stress to get ready. You get in your car, you stress while you're driving, and then you get to work, and then it's time to get paid to be stressed. Whereas I get ready in the morning, and I go and I catch the bus, and I sit down and I relax. I put my headphones on, I listen to music, I play Game Boy, I play DS, like whatever. You know, I like that sort of quiet period in my day. So I never really bothered. And then when I moved out here, it was something that I kind of needed. I lived in the city, so when I moved out into the suburbs, it's like you have to have a car. But even though I wasn't going to drive, it's probably something that I should have done earlier because having the license probably would have opened up more opportunities. So that's something that I always think about. Like, oh yeah, maybe I probably should have done that sooner. So that's my advice to everybody: is if you are worried about the expense of having a car or anything, don't let that deter you from just getting your license, because you'd be surprised at how it would still be somewhat beneficial. And in the end, if you don't use it at all, then you don't use it. With no harm, no foul. Driving is a great skill to have. I prefer to walk, but my dad made me get my license, and although driving is stressful, it's good to be able to do so. I felt like that at certain points. However, my brain comes up with these goals and ideas I want to see achieved on my island. Oh, Animal Crossing. I thought you were still talking about driving. Oh, my week has been sort of eventful. I started developing a legit game as of late. Other than that, it has been quiet. Well, the development of the game, hopefully it's going to go well. I hope to see your name on a game that I buy on the Switch within a couple of years. Or if you're lucky, like the developers of Them's Fighting Herds, I hope to see your game in Evo someday. Got mine around 1920. I also need to drive. Back when school was a thing. Because I live 35 miles away from my college campus. Yeah, nothing like a little distance to make you motivated to go and get your driver's license. I don't have much going on, so I try to find things to do with all the free time. I even managed to brush up on my novel writing skills. Very excellent, very excellent. I'm a professional passenger, like Cardi B. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and suspect that Cardi B has enough money to be a driver if she wants to be. She probably just also has enough money to not have to be. I mean, I'll be honest. I like the freedom of driving at night and stuff like that, but when it comes to like day to day, or like if I lived in the city or something, if I had millions of dollars, yeah, I'd probably just get driven around everywhere. I hate driving to the next town over. It feels like the rules of the road are a foreign concept to them. Yeah, congratulations. That's everywhere I go. Everybody has their own sets of rules, and the other rules don't apply to them. Honestly, half the time it feels like people got their driver's license from a CD-ROM of a spot. No, Minion. We used to say you got your driver's license from Pet Boys. Those were the bad drivers. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be honest. You're the only good driver, right? You are, because everybody who's driving faster than you is trying to get somebody killed, and everybody who's driving slower than you needs to learn how to drive. That's how it works. You're the only good driver on the road. That's it. That's the fact. Show's over. That's it. We'll play the credits and we can all roll out. As for Animal Crossing, I'm winding down. Yes, I'm not playing like 3 hours at a time. Just got to pace myself and set some of my own goals. Yeah, Marcos, I think I play about an hour to get all of my basic chores done, which is I hit my rocks to get all of my materials and money. I dig up my fossils and I get them assessed. I find my golden spot and put the money in. Like I put the money in, get the tree. I dig up the tree. I have a spot where I grow my money trees. So then I shake and cut down yesterday or the tree from a few days ago, put the new one in, and then I've got like a row of 4 trees that are all at different stages of growth. So every day I'm burying my money to make a new money tree, and then I'm shaking money off of the one from like 4 days ago because I think they take 4 days to grow. I wrote in a limo for my super sweet 16. I'm sorry. What's the difference between a super sweet 16 and just a regular sweet 16? Or is just everybody wearing capes at the super sweet 16, which sounds kind of awesome. You know, guys don't have that. Guys don't have like the special birthday thing. Like we don't have the sweet 16 or anything like that. Like in my experience, and understand, I'm Hispanic. We come from a culture where they celebrate the sweet 16, but only for girls. Yeah, only for girls. There's never. It's not like, and see, I was in a kind of an awkward situation at 16. I was sort of living on my own, and there was a lot going on in my life, and so it was very weird. But at no point did anybody ever talk. Like I've never heard anybody talk about that. Like you say, super stunning 16. Rye, that is very literally the first time I've ever heard that term. I've never heard that term say stunning 16 for a 16-year-old male. Never. That's what I feel is happening now. It's happening in Animal Crossing. Oh yeah, we had some time. We're playing more normal amounts rather than. Yeah, I think in Dragoon, I think we went past the mad rush of Animal Crossing, and now we're at the stable point of Animal Crossing. Like I don't fish. I don't really catch too many. I catch bugs more than I fish. It's just very weird. Obviously, if you're super sweet 16, you ride in limos. My 21st wasn't anything. My 21st birthday, I woke up. Okay, I woke up. I got baked, which was I was doing that at the time, and yeah, I got pretty baked. And I remember I was really excited. So I went to the liquor store to buy alcohol legally for the first time. Like I had never gone to the liquor. I've had liquor. I had liquor for plenty before that. But it was the first time I was able to buy liquor, right? So I was so happy that I was going to go in and they were going to you know what else I did? I remember what else I did on my 21st birthday. I went to the driver's license center to get my new driver's license. To get my new state ID. I wasn't driving at the time. To get my new state ID, because the state IDs on the bottom say under 21 until like whatever date, whatever your 21st birthday is. So I wanted a new ID specifically to have that removed from my ID. So I went and I did that, and then after I go to the driver's license center, I go at like 8 in the morning so that I can be there. I can be like one of the first people called up. So I did all of that, and then I went to the liquor store after that when it was open, and they didn't even card me. I bought my alcohol, and they were getting ready to knock, and I actually said, like, "Are you gonna ask for my ID?" And she kind of laughed, and she's like, "Okay, I'll ask for it." Like she didn't realize, and then I showed it to her. I was like, "I'm 21 today, so I kind of want to show my ID." And she's like, "Oh, all right." So she was, happy birthday and all that stuff. But yeah. I mean, I was also, pretty high at the time. And let me jump back up here. I thought you were uncle, huh? I thought you were uncle. Wait, I don't know. I'm lost on that. Even Hispanic has quinceañeras. I don't know how you spell it for 15-year-old girls. Nothing. Yeah, but the boys don't have anything. That's what I'm saying. Right. AGM. Everybody. AGM has just recommended to me that I watch the Midnight Gospel. Why is that funny? I want to see if the chat knows why I think that's funny. AGM has thrown a recommendation my way for the Midnight Gospel. Never watched it. All these American. I don't watch it except MVS Teen. Everyone's here. Hey, everyone, let's laugh at this guy. No, the reason I'm chuckling, AGM, is because not long after that show came out, maybe like a week and a half, I was sitting. It was up late. I was up late at night. It was a Saturday night, and I was a little under the influence, and I wanted to watch something. So I turned on Netflix, and Netflix had been recommending me this show called The Midnight Gospel. So I decided to watch it, thinking, okay, maybe it's like, I know that it's from Pemberton Ward. Pemberton Ward is his name. The one who created Adventure Time. So, or at least did the artwork for it. I don't know what the creation aspect, what his involvement was. So, and then it was Duncan Trussell, who is a comedian who does something called the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what the show was, and I said, all right, maybe it's like Adventure Time, but more consistent, because that was my problem with Adventure Time, was that it felt like a loose collection of shows, like an old sitcom, and then later it got more consistent. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I watched the first episode, and my mind was blown. I was in awe of what I had just watched. It was so interesting and so deep and so wild that it was almost incomprehensible how the kind of effect that it had on me. So the next day, Sunday, I watched the rest of it. I watched every other episode, and it is what a trip through the concepts of existentialism, life and death, and just the world in general. That show takes you on. Are we talking about the Midnight Gospel? Yes. So that Sunday, it was the Saturday that I watched the first episode. Sunday, I watched every other episode. It's only 8 episodes. Yes, Jones, I absolutely was. By the end of the show, by the way, I did cry during the last episode twice. And by the end, I was like, dude, what? Like, looking at life like, dude, what does it all mean, dude? Later that night, Sunday, I started watching it again, finished it on Monday, and on Tuesday, I watched the whole series again. In 3 days, I watched that whole season 3 times. Unbelievable. And I think I've watched it once or twice more. I've watched a couple of episodes individually here and there. I like the death episode with oh my god, what is her name? Caitlin Dougherty. She where she plays the Grim Reaper. The final episode with his mom, which is an unbelievable episode, which I cried twice in. And the first episode, I actually really like the first episode with Dr. Drew Pinsky, where they're talking about drug use and stuff. So the show, for anybody that didn't see it, before we start talking Pac-Man, for anybody that didn't see the show, Duncan Trussell does a podcast called the Family Hour Podcast, and what he does is he speaks to people who may in some way have been or are experts in their field in a way. For Caitlin Dougherty, for instance, is she's a mortician, and she was a former mortician, but she's like a death expert. And she's very familiar with the death industrial complex and all of that. Dr. Drew Pinsky, who the episode that he was on, they discussed drug use. They discussed why marijuana use isn't really as bad, and how when you use marijuana, it drops opiate usage. Like, it's a whole bunch of things. But then they talked to this guy who was one of the West Memphis 3, which I'll let you look that up, who studies practical magic. Or not practical magic. Ceremonial magic. Ceremonial magic was the term that they used. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very. Oh, and there's an episode with oh my god, I'm trying to remember who the guest is with the Barda. I think it's called Barda, the Barda prison. It's like an existential loop that you trap yourself in. Oh my god, it's just so fascinating. I can't really sit down and like I can't sit down and talk about it without watching it and then wanting to talk about it. Like it's that sort of show. I honestly considered doing viewing parties where we sit and we watch an episode, like you have it on your Netflix, I watch it here, and then we talk about what the show brings up, like what it makes you think about. What you thought of it, the discussion, and then the contrast between the discussion and the visuals, because then the visuals are very strange and don't always exactly tie in with the topic. It's just very interesting. Sorry. I get all worked up. Greg was on his Double Rainbow. Yeah, what I see you guys are saying rest in peace, Double Rainbow guy. Did Double Rainbow guy pass away? Double Rainbow guy. Did he? Oh, that's right. He did die a little while ago, right? Yeah, Paul Vasquez has died. Wait, oh my god, no, he died like a week ago? Like 2 weeks ago? Holy crap. I didn't hear that. Yeah, I didn't know that guy passed. I know that because I think a lot of people used to confuse him with Israel. I'm not even going to pretend to remember his last name. The Hawaiian guy that plays the ukulele, plays Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I know people at one point were confusing those two. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought that's what everybody's. Oh my god, yeah, I didn't know Double Rainbow. Dude, what does it mean? I know who you're talking about. Or we can catch it on the server and screen share. See, I don't know what the rules are with screen sharing a show. I don't know what the rules are with screen sharing a show that is on a streaming platform. So I don't know what the rules are with that. I don't know. I should probably look that up, because somebody else mentioned. I think Ryan actually mentioned using Retro Crush to have viewing parties. I think that's what John did for the Street Fighter movie. Private viewing party. Might have to be gone over Discord. Oh, okay. So I could run the audio over the Discord server, and then could I do that? Could I run the audio over the Discord server and then have the video playing on stream? Is that even possible? I'm pretty sure Netflix is blocked on Discord screen share. Well, no, Gator. I think you can have the video in the Discord server. Okay, so you can have the video in the Discord server. What I'm wondering is, can I have the video in the stream and then with no audio, but then have the audio on the Discord server, so that you have to have your stream open and Discord, and then combined you'll be able to watch the show? Yeah, I wouldn't chance it either. Hikari, I wouldn't chance it, but I'm kind of curious now. That is something that I wonder where the rules are. I remember in the old days when YouTube used to look out for people sharing, like illegally sharing things. They would do it by screen image, so then people would flip the image. I wouldn't take that chance, especially with a new show. Okay. It used to be, but now you can watch it and listen to it on the server. I guess it would have to be a private server, which I guess we sort of have. This sounds good. Yeah, Jones. That's sort of what I'm thinking, is that it's getting a little too complex. I mean, streaming on the stream and then having Discord open is not complicated. That's really not difficult at all. So, but it's the legal aspect of it, especially if you're getting. Yeah, I think that's that's the thing, Hikari. I'm getting revenue from Twitch, not from Discord. So if I'm only showing the images on Twitch, I'm not making any money from the whole show. See what I mean? But Discord is a separate thing that I'm not making any money off of. I've streamed Netflix. I would look into it myself. I'll probably look into it myself, but it's limited to 25 people in Discord. That's the only problem, is that it's limited to 25 people in Discord. Yeah, have multiple streams running. I mean, if your computer can handle it, multiple streams. The only solution would be a commentary stream from the show's sound without the show's sound on the stream. That's what I would do, AGM. That's what I would do is, like if I showed the show on stream, sorry, Bob. If I showed the show on stream and then had it playing in the Discord, I would have it so that you can't hear my Discord audio. So I would mute that out so I could hear the show, and then you could hear it obviously on your end. But if you were watching the stream, all you would see is the picture of the show and no audio. Have three or four people streaming the exact same thing in one voice call. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I should probably start expanding my ideas and deciding what extra stuff I want to do. So that might be something to look into, even if it's not just that show, even if it's just streaming in general. I should probably look into it. But let us discuss our I'm gonna play the noise, even though I didn't have images up for this, so I apologize for not having an image ready. Pac-Man turned 40 today. For May 22nd, 1980, was, let me see. I saw something about the actual, hold on. What are you doing? Go home. Go Google home. Home. Go to homepage. I saw something about it. I wasn't born then. I feel old. Pac-Man is old, like me. I'm older than Pac-Man. How about that? I'm older than Pac-Man by almost 2 years. I can't find the actual breakdown of everything. So May 22nd, 1980. Let's see here. I got some facts here. This is from The Guardian. I got The Guardian facts here. This game was premiered in Japan. It was, oh my god. See, I read a different article that had the breakdown of where it first premiered and all. So Pac-Man was created by game designer Toru Iwatani. He was just 24 at the time. The idea for the character came to him when he removed a slice from a pizza. I always heard of that as sort of a myth, but apparently, I mean, if it's on the internet, it's true. So, he was partially inspired by the onomatopoeic phrase "paku paku," which means chomp chomp, and the kanji symbol is taberu, meaning to eat. In 2010, Iwatani told Wired that Pac-Man particularly targeted female players. When you think about things women like, you think about fashion or fortune telling or food or dating boyfriends. So I decided to theme the game around eating. There's absolutely nothing problematic about the statement. Yeah, that's a sort of weird, what a weird sort of statement there. To make the game more kawaii, Iwatani designed the ghosts in bright colors and gave them large doe eyes. The ghosts are called, this is actually something I learned a long time ago. The ghosts are called Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde, and each have their own personalities based on AI routines. Blinky constantly chases Pac-Man. Pinky attempts to ambush him. Inky is randomized depending on Pac-Man's position, and Clyde will get closer to the player than attempt to flee to the bottom left corner, potentially cutting off escape routes. I actually did learn years ago that they are programmed with their own AIs, and they weren't just random. Like, we all know that the red one hunts you down, right? The red one's always the first one to change course and come after you, and then slowly but surely the other ones pretty much do it too. Is Pinky the chick? I don't think they were ever. I was not under the impression that they were ever given sexes or genders until you got to like the cartoon. My understanding was that if there was a female one, it was going to be when Miss Pac-Man happened, they pulled Clyde and added Sue, so that there was one girl ghost. That was my understanding. My understanding was that if they were gendered at all, if they were sexed at all, that they were male until they added Sue. Tended to say that Clyde moved random. Yeah, I always thought that Clyde was random, but I didn't know that Clyde would actually try and get close to you and then escape. The ghosts had names. Oh yeah, the ghosts had names. They've had names since the first game. Right on the main screen, they show you all of their names. Miss Pac-Man is harder than Pac, so that's pretty cool. Miss Pac-Man is more difficult than Pac-Man because the levels change. The idea of eating a power pill to give Pac-Man super strength came partially from the cartoon Popeye and his love of spinach. Hang on. Here we go. Pac-Man manufacturer Namco installed the first machine in a movie theater in Shibuya, Tokyo on May 22nd, 1980 in a movie theater. I wonder what was playing at the movie theater when they did that. The game was only a moderate success until its blockbusting US launch the following October, which is not surprising. The US, since the US is a larger market, things take off much more significantly here in the US than they do in Japan. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures genderized them. Well, there was Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. What year was that? Because I could swear there was a Pac-Man cartoon when I was a kid. Let's see here. Hold on. I forget that we have the internet. Cartoon. Pac-Man TV series. Yeah, there was an early 80s Pac cartoon. Because then Ghostly Adventures was later. Yeah, Pac-Man the animated series. I think the ghosts there were gendered, weren't they? Let's see. I see some images, but that's about it. Yeah, there's no specific breakdown. Weren't there like three? Well, there was the original Pac-Man 80s show. There was Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. I don't know if there was a third one. The Ghostly Adventures was the one that gave her a specific female appearance. Yeah, I think they might have referred to each other as male and female during the original 80s cartoon, but they still all looked like the regular ghosts. I don't think that like, one of them wasn't wearing pearls or something, which is, that's like the 80s version of here we go, that's a girl. Also, I think Pac-Man World 2 had the female ghost. Well, I think when Miss Pac-Man added Sue, and then I think a lot of people just assumed that Pinky was a female, they just sort of made that canon throughout the Pac-Man universe. Because Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and all the other Pacs existed in the same universe. Wasn't the 80s show what they based the platforming game on in the NES? The platform, you mean Pac-Land? Pac-Land was NES. I think it was also Turbo Graphics and PC Engine. I don't know what that was based off of. No one likes Pac-Land. I liked Pac-Land. I thought it was an okay game. Wasn't that the one in the arcades that was like it was an infinite runner, wasn't it? Wasn't it like he would walk and you had to push the button to jump? Wasn't that Pac-Land in the arcade? Or was that Pac-Mania? It's the one with the Smash Brothers stage. Yeah. yeah. It was the platformer. Which was funny because I always used to think of Mappy Land when I thought of Pac-Land, and I don't know why. Adventures of Pac-Man for the SNES. I never played that. I don't think I've ever. Do I even have that? No, I do not even. I don't have a Pac-Man game for Super Nintendo. Mappy was the Sega mouse. Well, there was a Mappy Land for NES. That I'm almost positive I have. Yeah. Was that a Sega? Was that a Sega thing? I don't think so. No, this was actually Taxon. This is Mappy Land. This was Taxon. The Taxon's a pretty decent company. The SNES game is a bit of point and click. I hate that SNES game with a passion. Pseudo point and click with awful controls and obtuse solutions. All right. Everybody who saw Scott Pilgrim knows that it was called Puckman. But the U.S. distributor Midway was worried that the word Puck could be easily modified by mischievous vandals into something ruder. Hence Pac-Man. Anybody who saw Scott Pilgrim knows that. The game features animated short sequences between levels showing Pac-Man being chased by ghosts. This is one of the first examples of non-interactive video game cutscene. Yeah, you kind of think about that, and you realize that they're absolutely right. The little intermissions were the first cutscenes. Like some games had a little bit of story beforehand, but in between the stages, yeah, I think Pac-Man was the first one. Hey, Sean, and hello to everybody who I might not have said hello to. I always, whenever I go on my rants, I always forget. The term cutscene was introduced in Maniac Mansion. And what year was Maniac Mansion? But what about Ninja Gaiden? Well, Ninja Gaiden and Maniac Mansion are all after Pac-Man. That's why Pac-Man would have been the first one. Yeah, that's kind of wild. I guess I never really thought about that. Within a year of Pac-Man's launch, 100,000 units have been sold, and 250 M games were being played. 250 million. I guess that's 250 million games were being played every week. Why would you abbreviate that? Okay. Pac-Man became gaming's first marketable mascot. That I remember. Pac-Man was the first. There were popular games before Pac-Man, but none of them had a character that they could really sell. And Pac-Man was the first really marketable character. And then after that, I think it was after that you started to get like Pitfall Harry, and then there were games where they were trying to put a character up front. You know, Donkey Kong was 81, I believe. Yeah, Donkey Kong was a year after. Mario was a couple of years after that. That's why this was 80. But Pong's ball. Yeah, I don't think the ball ever had a following. Yeah, I think I want to say Donkey Kong was 81, right? Donkey Kong, and then Mario doesn't even count because Mario wasn't Mario in the first Donkey Kong. Mario was Jumpman. But yeah, I want to say that's when it was. So yeah, so if you go by chronological order, Pac-Man was probably the first marketable mascot style character that they could put on a mug and a t-shirt and sell people to them. Yeah, DK was 81. Mario went by a few different names in the original game, Jumpman, Hero, etc. Was it Hero or Hiro like the Japanese name? Because yeah, we always just called. By the time I got into Donkey Kong, he was Mario. Like he just always was. It was Mario and Pauline. Unless you go to the Newgrounds approach, I said that the ship and Space Invaders is a character, but it's not. It doesn't have a personality. If it doesn't have a personality, it's hard to market it as a character. It is a ship. So it's difficult to say that the ship had a personality, you know, unless you start talking about modern sci-fi, in which yes, the ships talk to us. Yeah, he was just referred to as the hero or the man or other stuff like. Yeah, and Pauline was the lady. I was a teen when I found out that Peach was not Pauline. I think there was a while there where I thought they were the same, but then I mean, you look at Peach in the first NES game. In the first Super Mario Brothers, and she was so vastly different from Pauline, and she was even vastly different from what she looks like now. So it's so wild to think that was, yeah, she wasn't even Peach, she was Princess Toadstool, which is, God, that's a bad name. Who do you gotta hurt? Who do you gotta hurt to be called Princess Toadstool? OG Princess Toadstool in Mario 1 looks nothing like any other version of the character. You know what? She kind of looks more like Daisy, if I'm being totally honest. I think that OG Princess Toadstool. Let's get a look at her. Toadstool. Look, I typed in Princess Toadstool and it forced me to Princess Peach. It didn't go to Princess Toadstool. Let's see. Hold on. Mario 1. I can't even find it. There we go. Hold up. Yeah, she kind of looks more like Daisy, right? If you've seen her, she was always Peach in Japan. Yeah, here she was Toadstool. I don't know why the hell she was Toadstool. She was Toadstool in the cartoon too, right? Toadstool's a kind of mushroom. A Toadstool's a kind of mushroom. So I got that. Was she was, yes, she's certainly called Toadstool, and that she was Princess Toadstool in the cartoon. That's so strange. And he was King Koopa. He wasn't Bowser. Like Bowser was his original name. He was still King Koopa. As well as, or what was it? Yeah, he was King Koopa in the show. Because the implication, I believe, early on was that he was a more evolved Koopa Troopa. I think that was the implication originally, was that he was a more evolved Koopa Troopa, so he was the King Koopa. They were the others. They were Koopa Troopas, and then I just call him Dennis Hopper. Rest in peace, Dennis Hopper. Yeah, but the idea was that he was the King Koopa, the king of the Koopas, depending on who you talk to and how they said his name. But yeah. So he was king, but then he was Bowser, and then people would say Bowser Koopa. Like Bowser was his first name and Koopa was his last name. Like that's how people were saying it. This is a great Pac-Man discussion we're having. Yeah, fantastic Pac-Man discussion. Sorry, Pac-Man. This is your day. I apologize. Only the King of Koopas gets Milli Vanilli to host a party for his. Oh my God, I need to sit down and go through that show. There's a show that we should all sit down and watch together. Yikes. Let's see. Here we go. This is something I wanted to talk about. With its simplified maze and blocky visuals, the Atari 2600 version of Pac-Man is widely considered one of the worst arcade-to-home console conversions of all time. Although it sold 7 million copies, the game was so wretched it had been widely blamed for the 1983 video game crash alongside the similarly poor title E.T. I blame Pac-Man more than I've ever blamed E.T. Both games were terrible, right? Both games were playable. E.T. was playable. Forget what you heard. I think E.T. is a totally playable game, but E.T. was based off nothing but a movie. So it was easy for them to say, boy, you play that E.T. game? That was terrible. And have no basis for what a good E.T. game should be. The Pac-Man game was on the heels of a very successful arcade game, and it was the experience that everybody was expecting, and they took it home, and it was garbage, and everybody was upset about it. I blame Pac-Man more than I've ever blamed E.T. Pac-Man kickstarted the industry and almost killed it at the same time. Also, there was All Technical Marvel, but good God, the Atari was pretty art. Yeah, the Atari was Atari had good potential, but you know. So what was the actual issue with Atari Pac-Man? The actual issue with Atari Pac-Man was, first of all, that it was not even recognizable. Well, I would say it was recognizable to the arcade, but the visuals, the sound effects, everything was just awful. It was awful. It was a poor execution of everything. It wasn't even good in its own right as a game. It was just a very, very poor execution, especially for the Atari 2600, which at the time had technically better looking games. The controls were bad. It was everything about it was wrong. The biggest problem was that people were expecting more and they got way less. Like Donkey Kong. Oh my God. Donkey Kong on the Atari was awful compared to the arcade version. But it was actually relatively playable. The game itself was actually pretty decent. By the way, if anybody has a copy of the UK cover of the Donkey Kong arcade, Donkey Kong 2600, please let me know. Because I absolutely love that artwork. I've been looking for a box. That's the thing. Oh, wait. Oh my God. I have it here. Hang on. I do have it boxed. Oh, wow. I do have it boxed. This is my Atari games are just sitting in a bin on the corner here. I've never done anything with them. Look at the price. Look at that. $29.88 over at Clover. It's just a picture of the arcade. The UK, I think it's the UK box art is spectacular. And then Pac-Man, I actually have here too. Holy smokes. I'm so on the ball with these. So this is the Atari Pac-Man. It is kind of terrible. Nowadays that probably fetches for crowd. They don't. Atari 2600 games are terrible. I think it was on the ZX Spectrum here too. They and the Mario Brothers. Do you have ET? I have it, but not boxed. I do not have a boxed copy of ET. I'm gonna listen while I play through Lunar again. You know what's funny? I had these Atari games in my basement when I lived in the other house for years, and I forgot that I even had them. Like I knew I had Atari games, but I forgot I had some boxed. Yeah, no one likes Atari games. They don't have much value since there isn't much reason to play them beyond historical value. Yeah, the Atari games unfortunately did not age very well. We discussed the concept of aging well in video games. Atari games did not age very, very well here. Anywhere, I should say. Nintendo games aged relatively well. Super Nintendo games, Nintendo and Super Nintendo, that 8-bit generation, we're emulating today. Not many people are out there emulating. When I say emulating, I mean making new games that are similar to those styles of games. Nobody's making brand new Atari games. You know what I mean? Like nobody on the indie scene is like, we're gonna make this game look just like it's on the Atari 2600. Like nobody's doing that. If you're doing it, you're doing it for programming learning, and then that game never gets shown to anybody. Can you describe the UK box art? Hold on, let me find it here. Hold on. It looked like it was like, I don't know, Mario kind of looked like Thor. Donkey Kong UK box art. This one. Is it this one? Haha! There we go. Hold on. Copy image. I guess I wish you could put images into the chat here. Let me open up my Discord. I have it right here. It's got a guy with glorious hair that looks like he's holding a gold hammer. Wasn't the Jaguar Jaguar was the last Atari console? Yeah. Yeah. Atari just kept dying. Let me see if I have it here. Followers forums. Boom. I think that's it. There we go. Upload. Okay, so that's the picture. I put it in Discord. Oh, there we go, Ellie. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's the one. I would love to have a copy of that box art. I think I want that as a poster. Yeah, I love it. I think that it is amazingly awful. Like, look at how Donkey Kong looks. He looks so like he's raging out, man. All right, so we're back to this article. Games distinctive electronic music, blah, blah, blah. All right, so this is like very, very, very specific stuff. Yeah, so okay. Billy Mitchell became the first person to perfect the perfect score, blah, blah, blah. Miss Pac-Man is widely considered a better game than Pac-Man due to the varied maze design and improved ghost AI. So Pac-Man was... I wouldn't... Okay, so here's the weird thing. Here's the weird thing. As old as I am, Pac-Man I did not find to be very influential to me. 80, 81, I forget when it came over to the US. I guess it was 81. It was probably a year later. I was 3. So it was not very influential to me. By the time any Pac-Man had a strong influence on me, it was Miss Pac-Man. The Miss Pac-Man is the one where there were a lot of things that we think about that we realize, I'm actually thinking of Miss Pac-Man. When you think about there was a ghost named Sue. When you think about the fruit moves around, the fruit actually bouncing around the board. When you think about the fact that the game had different levels, those are all Miss Pac-Man. It's kind of wild. Did OG Pac-Man had different fruit, right? They just sat in the same spot. My mom and dad had dated to arcade specifically to spend all night playing Miss Pac-Man. She still beats me to this day. Yeah, Miss Pac. Those were, Ryan, those were back in the old days when the arcade was the hangout. There were movie theaters and there were pizza places that had arcade machines in them, but there were arcades that were just about arcades, and then there were places like pizza places that had enough arcades where that was sort of the goal. Like we had an ice cream shop. We had an ice cream shop that was, it had ice cream. Like you get ice cream once and then that's it. But they had a few arcade machines in it. So people would go and hang out at the ice cream shop specifically to play the arcade games. Greg, arcades are still a thing. Well, no. What I mean is that you started to see more of a prevalence in them. They obviously they hadn't existed before them, but they were more on the rise, and they were more. I guess this is the big difference. They were more broadly popular. You know, when I was growing up, when I was late teens, early 20s, and there were a few arcades, but they were late teens and early 20s. You'd find the odd older person here and there. We had a guy that used to kick ass in Killer Instinct, and we would call him Dad because we were all 20 something and he was clearly over 40, possibly 50. Like it was, and he was not ashamed of it. We didn't call him that like it was a joke. Like we were constantly like we were, hey, Dad's here, and he would come in and we were, he put his quarter up and we would play. And but I remember back in those days, even people that were on a little bit of an older curve, they were like, oh, we're going to go to the arcades. We're going to check this out, and they were kind of interested in it. We know it's in good jest. Yeah, I take it. Yeah, we use Dad as a term of endearment. And he knew, like the guy that we called Dad, we called him that. He knew that we called him that because he was much older. Like he had no problem with the fact that he was much older, and we were not teasing him with it. It was a term of endearment. So it was always great to see him there. But that was back, arcades were sort of everywhere, whether they were arcade establishments or they were just arcade machines in something. The back of the. I don't think we have that. I mean, do corner stores even exist anymore? I know they existed and still exist in urban areas, but I live out in the suburbs where they have no idea what a corner store is here. Yeah, I remember actual arcade. Did you see the table arcade? The tabletop, the sit-down machines, the cocktail machines is what they were called. If you look them up now, they're called cocktail arcades, and they are sit-down machines with a flat tabletop with like a glass top, but there was the screen that you could play from either side. So you play something like Centipede from one side or the other. I think there were games that were designed to play against each other. I know Atari had games like Demons to Diamonds, where the idea was that you were playing against each other, top and bottom. I used to play in those. Pizza Hut. I remember there was a Pizza Hut that had at least one of those. Corner stores are still a thing. I guess it just depends on where you are. But yeah, when I was younger, when I was a kid, all the corner stores in my neighborhood had at least one arcade machine. There was one store that had 3. There was one store that had like a racing game or something. I think it was probably like a pole position game. And then it had a Neo Geo machine where we played World Heroes and a Street Fighter machine. Before they would have like a Pac-Man or something, but then they had a Street Fighter machine. Then they got rid of one of the machines and put in a gambling machine, and then it got real skeevy, so we stopped going there. Tempted to go out and buy some whiskey tonight, right now. You gonna drink to Pac-Man's legacy? Is that what it is? I like it. Top 3 arcade machines from around my time as a kid: Street Fighter 2, some version of it. The chipped versions of Street Fighter 2 were amazing. Miss Pac-Man Galaga Combo and Cruising USA. And yeah, that's another thing when you talk about Pac-Man. Once Miss Pac-Man started to take over, you were hard pressed to, even now where I go to arcades and they have a few classic games, you're hard pressed to find a Pac-Man machine. You usually find a Miss Pac-Man machine. Oh, I love the place with King of Fighters 2002. We all loved it. I still want a Neo Geo arcade machine. No one like OG Pac-Man. Yeah, and Miss Pac-Man just did everything better. Sorry, my nose is kind of itchy. Miss Pac-Man just did everything better. But, it's Pac-Man, so it's the legacy. You gotta respect where the legacy began. So Pac-Man grew and grew and grew and grew, and it eventually, spawned Miss Pac-Man. It spawned Super Pac-Man, which was a different version of the game where you could eat the power pellets or you could eat something else. I think you ate apples in Super Pac-Man instead of the little power pellets, or instead of the little white dots. I think you ate apples, and then there were the power pellets which made you grow really big. So then you would go around, and it was a great design. He had like a bigger, it was like a bigger Pac-Man. He had a cape and stuff. He was great. And then there were two younger Pac-Man games. There was a okay, so there was Baby Pac-Man and Pac-Man Jr. Pac-Man Jr. was a Pac-Man style game with a wider playing field, where as you move across, I'm hoping I'm remembering this correctly, where as you move across, the board would actually move over, so it was wider than one screen. Baby Pac-Man was a hybrid arcade pinball machine. Let me see here. Baby Pac-Man. Yes. Baby Pac-Man was a hybrid pinball arcade machine. It was very, very interesting. It is not something that I remember ever seeing any other company do. I don't remember any other hybrid machine like this. But then Pac-Man Jr., let me see here. I'm pretty sure it was just a standard arcade machine. Yeah. Pac-Man Jr. was, so I got it right. Well, I got it right. It also spawned Pac-Man 2. Yeah. If you look at a Baby Pac-Man, I'll post this in Discord also. Let me see if I can find a picture of the machine. Was it this one? Was it this one? Yes, I think it's this one. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. That's it. Copy image. Where's the copy image? Here we go. Copy image. View image. Copy image. Paste. Boom. I like having Discord open. I gotta do this more often. Is it a supplement? No, it's totally fine. The Discord is open to everybody. All you got to do is go ahead and click that link, and that'll take you right to it. And then you'll have access to the followers forum, which is where I'll post all of these pictures and stuff. Yeah. So there were those. There was also Pac-Land, which I have played a total of twice in my entire life. One of the reasons was because the store that had Pac-Land also had Nibbler, and if I was going to play a classic game, I very much enjoyed Nibbler. Also, remember to like and subscribe. Use that Twitch Prime sub. So I didn't play a lot of Pac-Land, and Pac-Land wasn't that great of a game anyway. It really wasn't. Then you got into what was the one, Pac-Mania, which was like a 3D, an isometric overhead angle Pac-Man. I think that was called Pac-Mania. And then obviously there were like the ones on Super Nintendo, which I don't really remember. Was it Pac-Attack? Was that okay? So am I thinking of Pac-Attack? Pac-Attack. Oh no. So Pac-Attack was something else. Pac-Attack was like a wow, that was like a drop puzzle. Interesting. Yeah. So no, I think I'm thinking of Pac-Mania. Pac-Mania. Yeah. Okay. So there was a Pac-Mania. Wow, that was an arcade game. Jesus, I don't even know. I had no idea that was an arcade game. Yeah. So you started to spawn off a lot of things. I mean, merchandising for the character was through the roof. There was, there was. It was like collecting Pac-Man merch was like collecting Coca-Cola merch. Like there was the damn thing was everywhere. I actually have a couple of glasses from like drinking glasses from 1982 of Pac-Man, like printed on. I don't even drink out of them anymore. I'm so afraid to drink. I had 4 and then 2 of them broke. So I'm afraid to use the other 2, and I'm afraid to use them, but I have them in a cabinet where I don't display them. Yeah, I remember I got those at a flea market. The guy had like 12 of them, and I couldn't carry them all, so I bought 4 of them. He let me buy 4 of them. They're great glasses, but yeah, I'm so afraid to drink out of them. But yeah, there was Pac-Man merch everywhere. The board game which I had the board game, and I got rid of all of my older board games a while ago. It was incomplete. I didn't have everything for it, so I'm pretty sure I got rid of it. I tried to look into like trying to sell it, and they don't sell for a lot of money. Oh, how big are they? Drinking glasses, standard drinking glasses. So, what, 8 inches tall? Couple inches wide. Yeah, standard drinking glasses. Weren't those the ones with lead in them, or am I thinking of the McDonald's thing? Probably McDonald's. McDonald's probably had them too. I mean, these probably had lead in them also, but I don't know. What? Okay. I'm sure these hands are nimble enough for a message. I'd never done it before. What? Or massage. Okay. That's so weird. The only thing 80s, 90s I remember owning was the Mario 3 McDonald's toys of Raccoon Mario. I love those toys, and I went to try and look for them, and they are impossible to find. I'm missing apparently I'm missing some sort of weird conversation where everybody's talking about getting a massage. I think they're talking about massaging Pac-Man. I don't know. So then, I mean, my interaction with the Pac-Man franchise beyond the original games is not very extensive. I've never played the 3D games, which Pac-World. I never played any one of those. I played Miss Pac-Man's Maze Madness on pretty much every system it came out on. And I think I own it on every system it came out on. No, I don't think I own the Dreamcast version, but I did play that version. So I mean, this is an icon. This is the first video game iconic character. So, which is kind of wild. I'm a little surprised, considering when you think about the fact that this was 1980 when this character came out. Atari had already been around for a few years before then. Home video consoles had been around since 71 or 72 with the Magnavox Odyssey. I'm a little surprised that before then, nobody decided to make a marketable character. So I wonder sometimes I wonder how much Pac-Man was like a fluke, like, not a fluke, but like they made it not intending to be this way, but there was obviously a market waiting for something to fill that void. I think it has more to do with how primitive the graphics were to make real characters back then. Well, Ryan, that's the thing. When you talk about Atari games, for instance, one of my biggest things, I've talked about this when we talked about box art before, some of my favorite box art, and older games, stuff like Pitfall, and before then, stuff like Adventure. Before then, stuff like Space Invaders. Even to a lesser extent, stuff like Pong. Because of the weak graphics, you could not really make a detailed character. So what they used to do with the box art and then with the manuals, where you would get these stories. On the cover of the box, there was an elaborate piece of artwork that tried to tell a story. Also a reminder, Greg, the Odyssey and stuff weren't making their own graphics at the time. I think it had more to do with rate. Well, no. But what I'm saying is, you would have little stories in comics. I think the Yar's Revenge had like a comic in the manual that told you the story of what was going on. So while the graphics could not represent characters, there were market, because you look at Pac-Man. It's a circle that opens and closes, and it had an eye, and that was really it. So a lot of it was left to the imagination of the people, but they used artwork to extend that imagination. He was a little yellow circle that would open and close and had a black dot for an eye. But what did they do on the cover of the machine, of the arcade machine? They put a detailed drawing of the character. They put, he was in this desperate situation where he was running from the ghost, and the ghosts were chasing after him, and some of the artwork had ghosts with arms, and they were thrusting towards him, which is probably not the way I should have said that, but they were lunging towards him, and that artwork serves to fuel your imagination. So when you play this game with a yellow circle with a black dot on it, you didn't see a yellow circle with a black dot on it. You saw this character that was in a race for his life, that was running through this rave, eating as many pills as he could before the imaginary ghost got to him, which is a very more relatable way to say that. Oh, he didn't have eyes for you. He didn't even have eyes in the original? Oh my god. I'm just imagining the eyes. Look at that. Yeah, you're right. He didn't have eyes. Gotta like when boxes do that. And that was the point. That was why, nowadays with pre-rendered graphics, with 3D CG graphics, a lot of the cover art that you see for video games are just screenshots of the game. But the game looks great. So the artwork looks great on it. But back then, you had these really detailed... Let me see if I have one here. Like, you get crap like Donkey Kong, where it's just a picture of the arcade machine. Big freaking whoop. Oh, boy. There go my Jaguar game. Let's see if I've got good artwork. Oh, hell yeah. All right. So you've got Combat. Everybody remember Combat for the Atari? Little squares, little tanks, move around. Little tanks, little airplanes that look like Legos. They fly around. You ever see the cover for Combat? Look at that. Look at that. Now, when you play that game, you're looking at little squares, right? You're looking at little blocky things, but you're thinking, "Holy smokes! I'm having this military battle." And obviously, now we're older, so we probably don't think that as much. But when you're a kid, you're like, "Dude, that's awesome." You've got games like Breakout. Everybody remembers Breakout. Breakout's a classic, right? The little thing at the bottom of the screen. This is a weird one. I got a weird one here for you. The little thing at the bottom of the screen, and it's a little paddle, a little boop, 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 boop. I never considered that tennis. Never in my life did I think Breakout is like tennis. Unless you look at the box art, and it looks like two dudes playing tennis. Level that out. This guy's holding a Wiimote over here. He's holding a black Wiimote Plus. This other guy, you can sort of see the tennis racket, but that's what they did. That was the point. One of my favorite box arts is Defender. Because Defender, you flew the ship around and you picked up the little people and the little alien ships and everything. But then when you look at the Defender, I don't have the box. The Defender, right? I don't have the box. Yeah. Defender is actually a game that I really, really would love to have the box for. That and Adventure. When you look at the box for Defender, it's this super detailed picture of like this woman's like, oh my god, and there's like an alien ship abducting somebody, and they're doing the levitation thing off the ground, like it over a cityscape, and it's this dramatic angle of what's happening, and that's what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to feed your imagination. When you play these little blocky characters on the screen, you're supposed to think, oh my god, this amazing thing is happening. Pac-Man fed that. Pac-Man was one of the first games that had not just an amazing piece of artwork for you to say, oh, it looks like this. It had an actual character for you to emote with. Oh my god, I'm not panicking that the ghosts are almost going to get me. Pac-Man is panicking, and I'm panicking with him. And that is, and it sounds stupid. It sounds dumb because we're used to more of that. We're used to a more elaborate version of that. But in reality, back then, it kind of worked. Pitfall Harry would run, he would jump, and he would grab the rope, and he would swing, and then he would try to not get eaten by an alligator. Like you had all of these very simplistic graphics, but then you fed that with this, you imprinted your emotion onto the character. So the character's running through the forest, you run through the jungle, you're running through the jungle, and you're both panicking. You both don't want to get eaten by the alligator, and that's how it works. That's how video games would get you back then. It was kind of amazing. It really was like magic in a way. It was really strange that We do it with books, right? Everybody who's ever read a book and then has seen artwork of the characters, or the book has pictures in it of the characters. When you start reading it, what do we call it? The theater of the mind. When you start reading the book, you're not just reading the book. Yeah, Harry Potter. Harry Potter was a big one because Harry Potter, but when people really started to get into Harry Potter, movies were already out. So you were already able to envision these characters. So when you go and you read the book, you create this theater in your mind where you see these characters doing these things. And video games were one of the first for me anyway, they were one of the first examples when that would happen, where I would think, oh my God, Pac-Man's got to get away from the ghost. And someone say Harry Potter, look, Harry Potter, the Harry Potter fans like, what? Sure did, and I didn't stutter. And I'm sorry, I'm ranting and raving, and I'm like skipping skipping chat here. You're gonna try to find it as an Elite Dangerous type game for Atari, with like space travel. Looks gorgeous, but I forget the name. Did it use the number pad? Are you talking about Star Raiders? You're not talking about Star Raiders, are you? Wouldn't Berserk also count as the initiator? I would say no, AGM, because I loved Berserk, and at no point did I remember that his character, that the bad guy was Evil Otto, and I don't ever remember what the main character's name is. That's why I could not imprint my emotions onto the main character, because I never knew that the main character had a name and had a character or anything. You know, even on the artwork, it kind of looked like basic guy. Yeah, but Pac-Man was everywhere. You know, and then you added Miss Pac-Man, and Miss Pac-Man with a little bit of a twist on it, and you know, she had a bow, and that made her special. And now, when you say Berserk, Berserk was an arcade and Atari 2600 game that I loved. I very much love Berserk. Actually, no. Was it Berserk in the arcades, or was Berserk a version of Robotron? Miss Pac-Man was Miss Pac-Man's like the first fan game. I think it was actually considered like a fan hack of Pac-Man, wasn't it? I don't remember if Berserk. I love Robotron. Robotron also I really love, but Robotron I love because it reminds me of Berserk. Solaris. You're thinking of Solaris. Okay. Berserk on Atari still looks better than the CG Berserk. Yikes. Ow. That's a big oof. Wasn't Berserk the one who gave people heart attacks after high scores? I don't know if Berserk did it. I'm guessing you're talking about the flashing. Missile Command had a pretty flashy game over screen. I remember that. Berserk had a lot of sounds and activity going on. I don't know. Maybe it was Robotron. I mean, some of those old games hold up very well. Some of them don't. I have Robotron. We should play that someday. How long do we talk about King of Kong? I wouldn't even bother, because King of Kong was the one that had a bunch of different people on it, and there was the guy Jerf. We'll talk about King of Kong one day for anybody that hasn't seen it. That's a pretty cringy movie documentary. I thought King of Kong was kind of cringy just because Billy Mitchell, he streams too, by the way. Billy Mitchell streams every once in a while. I see that he's streaming Donkey Kong gameplay and stuff. The King of Kong documentary was really, there were a lot of cringy characters in that, specifically the guy that dressed in the military uniform. That was kind of cringeworthy. Back then they didn't mess around. Listen, you know why, AGM? Because back then a quarter was worth a lot more than it is now. It cost you 25 cents to play a game back then, and back then that was 25 penny candies. that was a bag of chips that was, that actually had some good chips in it. It was a different time. It was but yeah, so happy birthday, Pac-Man. 40 years old. You don't look a day over 20. I still am a little concerned about Pac-Man. He is looking a little yellow. I am worried about jaundice. But I mean, he's been around for 40 years, so I think he's gonna keep going strong. Back then I could use 25 to go to a grocery shop and have some leftover saltwater taffy, and then Ryan, and then still have 2 cents left over to give someone your opinion. But I don't have pictures. So viewer topics. If you would like to share your Pac-Man memories, or if you have a topic that you want to discuss or a question that you want to ask, this is also the Q&A portion. It's funny because during the week, I get people in my streams, in the streams with us, that always ask me about, you should do like a Q&A. It's like, I do a Q&A every week. I do a Q&A right now. You want to ask me a question? Go right ahead. Let's talk about the Snyder Cut. Okay. I just won my first solo Fortnite game. Congratulations. I think I was at about 100 wins before I finally stopped playing that game, which was like 4 months ago. Let's talk about the Snyder Cut. Okay. The Snyder Cut apparently is happening. Here's my hot take on the Snyder Cut. You ready for my hot take on the Snyder Cut? I'm not entirely sure what it is. How much of the movie is different? It's for Justice League, right? How much of the movie is different? How is there even a salvageable movie in that movie? So I'm not entirely sure what it is. All I know is I'm not entirely sure I cared. King of Kong posted cringe. You better believe it. You really underestimate how bad I am. Q&A. Did I finally watch the Quizno ad? No, I did not watch the Quizno ad. I kind of forgot about it, so we're going to keep forgetting about it. Have you ever really liked a game that people are generally lukewarm to? Mine is The Legend of Spyro games, but do you have one like that? Do I have a game that I really like that people are generally lukewarm to? I always feel like there are, but my problem is that nowadays, whatever you like, there are other people that like it. So it's hard for me to think of a game that I can think of one. Yeah, I got one for you. Metroid. The original Metroid on the NES. Yes. A lot of people did not like it. It was very difficult. There's no map system. The password system was really goofy. I remember a lot of people when I was a kid interacting with them and talking about Metroid, and they didn't like it. So yeah, I would say the original Metroid. Obviously, when Super Metroid came into light, it became more popular. But yeah, Zero Mission is definitely the better game. There's no question of that. Metroid is a game that aged extremely poorly. So yeah. So Metroid, I would definitely say that. I'm gonna jump ahead really quick and answer Miles's question of ketchup or mayo. Ketchup. I don't like either one of them, but ketchup is made of tomatoes, and I like tomato sauce, so ketchup it is. That's what I chose the first time. That's what I would choose this time. Is Snyder's scenes he wanted to do for Justice League before his daughter committed suicide? WB panicked over BVS flopping and got Joss Whedon to shove half a Marvel movie what was already done. Okay, so how much of the movie is different? Because here's the thing. Zack Snyder did Man of Steel. And Man of Steel was an average movie. I thought Man of Steel had some okay scenes. But I thought overall it was kind of blah interpretation. I didn't like their interpretation of Superman. I liked Henry Cavill, but I didn't like their version of Superman. I also really didn't like their version of Jonathan Kent. So there we go. I don't care about it being good. I just think it's interesting. I do, Minion. Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's happening. You know what I wonder, and this is sort of a weird thing. I wonder how much, or whether or not this would be happening if the pandemic wasn't going on. I wonder how many of these events that we've had lately, movies releasing to home only, and you know, the Snyder Cut being released. I wonder how much of this stuff, and I know it sounds weird and unrelated, but the pandemic has created a significantly large, quote unquote, trapped audience. So I wonder how much of this is related to the fact that, oh, if we release the Snyder Cut, we can sell it to people. As opposed to in a non-pandemic situation, nobody would care. Or very few, not enough people would care. It's very interesting. I'm curious to know, and I don't think we ever can know, how much the pandemic is affecting some of these things, especially down the road when you get a few years later. And that was the one that introduced me to the Pac-Man, to Pac-Man via Namco Museum on PS1. Very excellent. So, for example, of stuff we know, Snyder wanted to do Martian Manhunter was going to be involved. Hal was going to show up at some point, and Darkseid had much more of a presence than just Steppenwolf. Mario Sunshine, I hate that game. Snyder talked about making a 4-hour rough cut of Justice League before having to leave, and people latched onto it when they didn't like how the movie turned out as a final product, thinking that the rough cut was more than what it was. I had no idea what this HBO Maxing is going to be. I think it's just going to be the. I mean, if you're talking about a 4-hour movie, why not release two 2-hour movies on HBO or something? Most of it is actually filmed, just the effects weren't done, which probably means they're working on the effects right now. A 3-hour movie. Listen, a 3-hour movie is not bad if the movie's good. What was the first Lord of the Rings? The theatrical version of the first Lord of the Rings, I want to say was close to 3 hours. Theatrical length. Oh my god. 178 minutes. 2 hours and 58. Yeah, so 3 hours. So the first Lord of the Rings was 3 hours long. I remember I watched the first Lord of the Rings multiple times in the theater, and at no point was I bored. Never watching that in the theater did I get to a point where I was looking at my watch to see if it was almost over. It was a great movie, and it was an enjoyable 3 hours all the time. Let's see. Scrolling back up here. Jonathan Kent, you mean tornado bait? Man of Steel was average, but just sort of uninteresting. BVS was bad, but had a lot more interesting. BVS could have been a decent jumping off point to the Justice League. I thought the movie itself was just lackluster. Shazam was really good. I highly recommend that movie. I have not seen Shazam. They made a Lord and Miller cut of Solo. Oh boy. In editing process, you make it as long as possible and trim it down from there. So the final product wouldn't have been 4 hours. I think that you could probably stretch it, make it, I mean, even if you release a 3-hour movie, if that works. I had to pee bad after Endgame. I remember nothing about Lord of the Rings. What? Oh my god, I love Lord of the Rings. As much as I like Lord of the Rings, I cannot sit through them without breaks in the middle. Yeah, I can watch now. I take breaks in the middle just because I have it at home. But in the theater, I was fine. Fellowship is a fantastic movie that's also really long. Yeah, not like. Listen, I love Return of the King. I thought Return of the King was a great movie. But with those multiple ending sequences, good lord. it went on. It went on forever. They didn't define anything. You really think they'll get Affleck back? No. The news we know of for the Snyder Cut is 4 hours long, chopped into 6 parts for HBO Max. It was originally going to be 2 parts. similar to Infinity War and Endgame, and it's getting $20 million to finish the effects. That's not a bad idea. I think that's a pretty decent idea. I think that's a really cool way to potentially, ain't gonna happen. Potentially, not gonna happen. Rejuvenate that franchise. That ain't gonna happen. Shazam is great. You should watch it. The more movies we had, the more I hated Man of Steel, because Superman got so dark that Batman needed to be even darker, making them hypocrite a-holes rather than rival. Yeah, it just I don't know. The Man of Steel just felt like a lot of crap in the first half of it. DC doesn't need to rejuvenate the franchise. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam have all been big successes. Shazam, Aquaman, I don't remember people talking about being a big success. I remember people talking about it being a decent movie. The problem is you got some low expectations. Aquaman made over $1 billion. Yeah, I guess that, I mean, that counts as a success as far as financially. The question is, was it a high quality movie? I don't know. I didn't see it. I like Aquaman, but I remember people saying that they liked Aquaman. I remember people like they. Now let me ask you this. Did you like Aquaman as a DC Universe movie, or did you like Aquaman as a standalone movie? Like Wonder Woman, I thought was a great movie, but I thought Wonder Woman was a great Wonder Woman movie, and that's it. I didn't think that Wonder Woman was like, this is a fantastic part of the DC Universe. I just thought it was a decent standalone movie. Whereas a lot of the Marvel movies I thought were decent like there were Marvel movies that I thought were decent standalone movies, and then there were some that I liked as part of the current mythos that was going on. I got nothing on DC unless it's Batman. I'm just confused as to what DC's plans for the universe is now that the dark universe of BVS and Man of Steel are going to be an AU. Yeah, they're an alternate universe now. Are the solo movies like Aquaman and Shazam and Wonder Woman 2? My question is, what about the new Batman? The new Batman is going to be now its own separate universe, because we get into this discussion all the time about the DC universe, and the problem is the DC universe is splintered over 7 or 8 different universes right now. When we're talking about the cinematic universe, when we're talking about the TV shows and between the TV shows and the movies, they're split into like 8 different universes. Without a doubt, Aquaman and Shazam work excellently on their own. Okay, so that's good enough for me to see it. And I think that's part of the problem. That might be part of the problem, Trios, that people are just tired of the superhero style of movies, which I think is why you could theoretically make the DCEU work right now, just because aesthetically it's different. So maybe there's a calling out for that. Maybe there's a clamoring for that. I don't know. I think people are a little tired of the superhero movies right now. That movie concerns me now that Ben left. Later, Flip, have a good one. Just waiting for CW's Justice League. It's just the DC cinematic universe is just spread over so much now. Honestly, what they should do is just pretend MOS, BVS, JL aren't canon and start with Wonder Woman. Well, the problem is that Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam do exist in those universes. So like the modern, like the new Batman, the what's his name, Batman. If you try to say that is the Batman with Wonder Woman, with Gal Gadot, Robert Pattinson, thank you. Gal Gadot. I always thought it was Gal Gadot, but it's Gal Gadot, I guess. If you try to say that the Robert Pattinson Batman is in the same universe as the Gal Gadot Batman, I'm gonna say Gadot, and the Jason Momoa Aquaman, and even the Zachary Levi Shazam, the immediate question is, okay, well, where are the versions of Batman and Alfred that we saw before? is it the same person with a different with a different actor, or are these all new characters? Because then if they're all new characters, you need to explain what happened to the last one. And you know, it doesn't work. Like, if you're going to change an actor and have them play a character that already existed, you can't start with those. Let's see. I mean, you can just pretend they're not. Wonder Woman makes no passing mention to anything in the previous movies. Aquaman has a throwaway Justice League line that doesn't affect anything, and Shazam references nothing inherently. Yeah, Shazam. My impression of Shazam was that it was not connected to anything directly. But the other ones, yeah, I just, you know, you tied them in. You sort of already done the damage, so it's dangerous to do that. And here's the thing, Ryan. You could do that, right? Like, you could pretend that the other versions don't exist. For us, you can do that because we are in the know. We look up these things. We look up the things behind. We know about the character histories, and we know about the movie making process, right? Where we are the people who get information about, oh, well, they changed directors. Oh, they changed the actor, but it's the same character. We go beyond the movie and explore we deep dive the making of the movie. So we understand when they say, oh, well, this is a new Batman, that other Batman doesn't exist in this universe. These movies are canon in relation to these 3 movies, but these other 2 movies don't count. We know that stuff. But the general audience, the standard audience that consumes this stuff, don't put in the kind of effort that we do. Look at Terminator. Terminator confused the hell out of people because by 6 movies in, people were coming out of the theater saying, wait, I don't understand. So that last movie didn't happen? Wait, so how was he in this movie, but he died in the other movie? Like, it got really confusing. And the general media consuming audience, they don't deep dive into these things like we do. So what ends up happening is you create an audience that comes out of the movie annoyed because they didn't understand what was going on. By the time we even got new Batman out, it'd be so long from BVS, no one will care to that point. I don't know. I think that it's dangerous to assume that the general audience is not smart, because they're gonna get you. These are the people who are gonna say, "Wait a minute, hold on, that doesn't make any sense," and they're gonna question it. But we are the ones who went into the theater already knowing. Terminator also involves time travel and makes everything messy, and that's the problem. What if the Terminator timeline was all screwed up and it didn't involve time travel? At least with time travel, you could say, oh, well, that's probably because of time travel. You know, they went back to the past, they changed things. Without time travel, people are just going to be confused. We do it all the time. They had 2 Darrens. Sorry, that was a very old Bewitched reference. BVS and JL flopped, so it's not like a ton of people saw them. I think that enough people saw them to be upset. I put it this way. I think enough people saw them to justify, if you really want to make a DCCU, that you should probably pick a point and start from scratch. A fresh point. I don't know. I that's just me. That's just how I see it. It's too tricky right now. And then again, you know, the point that I beat into the ground is that the DC's all over the place when it comes to cinematic stuff. You know, you're gonna put a new Flash on the screen, different from the popular Flash TV show. You're gonna put a Superman on the screen who was like the 3rd Superman that we've had in a few years. You're gonna try and implement some of these characters, and you either have to have new characters or use the old characters, but they're not related. Like, it's just very strange. It's a strange time for DC to try and do something. I think Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam all work just fine as starting points. I think that it's possible. I do think that it's possible, but I think that it's just going to be difficult. And I think it's going to be difficult to the point where, not impossible, but difficult to the point where the studios might not want to take a risk on something like that. Spider-Man is like 5 actors from scratch. Yeah, and you know what? Personally, in my opinion, Spider-Man suffered from it. I think that Spider-Man didn't land with people until it was part of a more like, obviously the first two Spider-Man movies were great, right? Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire was fantastic. It was a standalone movie. The second movie, standalone movie. I mean, they were all standalone movies, but I think it worked very well on its own. The third movie was bad. Then you had the reboot with what's his name, Andrew Garfield, who was a fine Spider-Man. He was fine. He was a good guy. He seemed like a fun, decent human being, right? Like, he showed up at Comic-Con one time dressed in like a crappy Spider-Man suit and asked a question, took the mask off, and it turned out to be Andrew Garfield. It was fun, and we like that sort of thing. Then the second movie tried to build a universe, and it was pretty boring, and nobody cared. And then you had Spider-Man. Like, people love the character, but it was kind of hard to see the character in a setting. And then when you had the MCU, people were like, bring Spider-Man in. So they finally brought Spider-Man in, and it was fantastic. And it landed. And it landed very well. I think the other thing is, you're thinking people are confused that animation, TV, and movies are separate universes, even though that's pretty much always been the case for superheroes. They know movies are different from the TV and so on. Ryan, they did. Here's why this could still work. Because Marvel was trying to change that. Marvel had this idea of implementing everything into their one universe. So you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which could have been a great show, but was only kind of a mediocre show. You had the Daredevil and Daredevil, Punisher. Even though the things weren't happening, Marvel was very upfront about the fact that these were all related to the universe. Yeah. The Netflix shows referenced a couple of things, but they didn't show too much of it. They tried very heavily to be their own identity. I see you, Marcos. I will get your Gonzalez Sue right after this. Yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. was good for like the first 3 seasons. But they made it a point to make sure you understand that all of these things work together. The DC universe, there was a point where people would have expected that, and it would have been a problem for people to say Superman or Batman, but wait, is it the same Batman that's on that Gotham TV show? Is it the same Batman that we saw in a glimpse of in Man of Steel? Like, there are these moments. There were these moments where that's what people would have done. Or let me be more specific, where the studios would have been concerned that that's what people were going to do. Because that's what you have to look at everything from. You have to look at everything from the perspective of the studio and what they think people would react like. The reason I say it works now is because we've moved away from that. With the MCU focusing more on spreading themselves out a little bit, there's no overarching story anymore. We're now at a point where the DCCU could say, all right, let's do something brand new. I just think that the previous movies in the DCCU are not a good jumping off point. Maybe Wonder Woman. Like, Wonder Woman, yeah. Wonder Woman you could work with. Wonder Woman was great. And Aquaman, like everybody says. People aren't that stupid when that's the way it's always been. No one at any point. Well, there was a big gap in there between those two. Well, no. Well, Ryan, but that's live action animation. And again, that's before there was this idea of one central universe. Marvel changed all of that, or tried to change all of that, and it did work to an extent. But we're moving away from that to the point where it can work again. Yeah, Marvel didn't have a plan beyond Wave 1. Let's say I think they did. I think Marvel had a. I think it's easy to see where Marvel's plans were, and it's easy to see where Marvel's tried to squeeze some things in. Spider-Man in Civil War was clearly a squeeze, and we all know why. And again, this is actually a good example. Spider-Man in Civil War was a squeeze. We know why. Spider-Man didn't appear before then, because Sony owned Spider-Man. Sony lent Spider-Man to Marvel, blah, 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 blah. We know why all of that stuff happened. But I remember when Spider-Man was in Civil War, and there were a lot of people saying, why did Spider-Man wait until now to show up? There were actually people saying that because they were not aware of the stuff that went on behind the scenes with the ownerships of the characters and all of that stuff. So that's a moment where we can look at it and we can say, yeah, he was pretty much shoehorned in there because they got him midway through and they realized, oh, we can squeeze him into this movie. Captain Marvel was a relatively decent movie in my opinion, but it felt very much shoehorned into the MCU. But when you start talking about even the second gen stuff, the stuff that included some of the Infinity Stones, and I don't know, I think that, you know, stuff like Iron Man 2 and 3, I think that there were moments where it felt like it fit. But yeah, when you got to the second phase, you could start to see the cracks. You definitely started to see, okay, so this wasn't originally part of the MCU, but or part of the Infinity saga that they were going to start building, but they got it in there. It's a weird topic. It's a weird sort of probably bigger than the viewers' topics. It's not pretending Pattinson is Affleck. We're saying just ignore the other stuff and start with Wonder Woman and cut the front off. But what I'm saying, Ryan, is that I do think that the general audience is going to be confused about, well, what happened to Ben Affleck? What happened to Batman versus Superman? Considering that you are continuing with a character that was in those movies. Where the general audience is, and the general audience, I don't think consumes media the same way we do. They're not going to say, oh, well, they rebooted the franchise, blah, 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 blah. They're just going to wonder if this is the same character or not. Is it supposed to be the same Batman or is it a different Batman? I think that they will. I think that they would. And again, I say it 1,000 times. I say it 1,000 times more. Maybe the general audience is smarter than that. But the studios need to bank. They need to gamble hundreds of millions of dollars into the idea that the audience will be okay with it. And when you look at it from that perspective, are they going to risk that much money? So it's really dangerous. I want to see Wonder Woman and Aquaman be confused as to what happened to Affleck. like hey, hey, I'm Batman. Really? All right. Even if Wonder Woman and Aquaman don't reference Justice League, Batman, they don't have to reference it. We'll see it. The general audience will see it, I should say. And yeah, that's it. I won't say anything more on it. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion is that the studios need to be concerned with how well their films are going to be received, how well their universe is going to be received, and they need to gamble hundreds of millions of dollars on that reception. And I question whether or not they want to gamble that on that kind of reception, especially when you consider that the DCCU right now has a sort of bad reputation. It really does have a bad reputation. So you're putting a lot of money, you're risking a lot of money into movies that already have a sort of bad reputation. So it's, you need to risk it. You need to assess that risk. And I don't know. It's people with a lot more money than I have are making these choices. You don't have to suddenly make it a crossover movie. Just release Wonder Woman 2, Pattinson, Batman, Green Lantern Corps, and then do a Justice League after people have seen the other stuff. Here's the one last thing I'll say, Ryan. Even with a lot of time in between movies, even with a decent chunk of time in between movies, people will reference the old ones. They will. They do. You know how I know they do? The Judge Dredd movie that came out a few years ago, what was it, 2013 or so? I forget when it came out, with Carl Urban as Judge Dredd, was badass. And it was nothing like the original Judge Dredd movie with Stallone. And yet I have talked to dozens of people who won't watch the Dredd movie or who didn't watch the Dredd movie because they think about the Stallone movie. And that's all they think about. The movie with Stallone? 2012 is when it came out. I have talked to dozens of people who have not seen and probably will not watch it because all they think about is the Stallone movie, even though I'm sitting here telling you right now that movie is unrecognizable from anything in the Stallone movie other than the fact that his name is Dredd. Dredd, the 2012 movie was just called Dredd. It was such an amazing movie, but when it came out, all people referenced were the old movie, and they didn't see it. We're talking about Batman here. No one is going to not see a good Batman movie, especially after we know how bad it gets for Batman and Robin. Yeah. Well, again, Ryan, we know. They don't. But we're going to wrap it up there. We went a little bit longer, but we also started a little bit late, so no problems there. I owe you a Gonzadessu, so let's get a Gonzadessu rocking and rolling here. Let's get that. I love that. Great way to wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in and for hanging out, for listening to our final DCCU segment, aka the viewer topics. If you are not normally here, feel free to go ahead and click like, and go ahead and quick follow. But click follow. And if you have a free Twitch Prime sub, or you got $5 burning a hole in your pocket, feel free to go ahead and subscribe. Very much appreciate that. Check the links down below where you can follow us over on YouTube, which is where uploads of this show go, as long as I remember to do them. Also follow me over on Twitter, which is where I will update you on what streams I'm going to be doing. And, I post a lot of other fun stuff and little silly jokes there. And follow us on Discord. You join a Discord server where we have some fun conversations from time to time. And during this show and some others, I will try to remember more often to post pictures of funny things that I see. If you're watching this on YouTube, also thank you for watching. And please go ahead and click subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, subscribe on YouTube is the same as follow, so it's free. And check the links down below also, where you can follow us over on Twitter, Discord, and Twitch, where we stream 4 times a week. We stream Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern, which is always gameplay. And then Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., we stream this show live every week, assuming I have good topics. But I would very much appreciate it if you do that. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of all of this, for supporting us in whatever way you support us, whether you subscribe, whether you follow, or whether you watch and you maybe share. Share every once in a while when we're going live. Every little bit helps, baby. But have an amazing weekend, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Social distance. Wear your mask, because wearing your mask. Let me leave you with something here. This is something that I want you to spread. I want you to spread this like wildfire. People are concerned that having to wear a mask and not being allowed to get service unless you wear a mask is infringing on their constitutional rights. But for as long as I can remember, stores have had signs on their fronts that said no shirt, no shoes, no service. If those are not infringing on your constitutional rights, then having to wear a mask should not be an infringement either. So from now on, no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. No problem, right? So have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. And I will see you all next time.